Being misunderstood. All right, we got sound. Cool. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my previous video about the AI stuff. I've read all your comments. I swear I've already recorded a video, but I didn't really like some of the language that I used, so I might be re-recording it. Anyways, this video is I don't know exactly what I want to do with this channel, but this video is about something I drew and wrote that greatly interests me. Um, and that is what education used to be and how what education used to be points to uh, the fact that education doesn't work today. So this is a father teaching his son how to spearfish. And I wrote, the utility of the thing learned, that is spearfishing, innately imparts some responsibility onto the child. So the idea of this thing is useful begs the question, useful for what? This is true in no matter what. When you're learning something, then you ask, why am I learning it? When you are being taught how to do something, you ask, what am I learning and why am I learning this? And so we all remember this from like when we were learning algebra or geometry or whatever, right? And all the kids in the class were like, why this is like, what am I going to use this for, right? And then when they graduate, everybody's like, oh, they should have taught us taxes or finance or whatever crap, right? Or financial literacy at the least. Okay, well, this is the difference here, that after years of seeing their own father bringing home fish, the child only has to learn the act of spearfishing, because bringing the fish home for others to eat, that is the reason why that the child has already been experiencing for years. So again, this kid, without knowing it, has already seen the reason why and fully understands why you have to learn how to spearfish or why you spearfish, right? Because they grew up seeing their father come home with a bunch of fish skewered on a spear, and then they take the fish off the spear, clean them, cook them, eat them. And that's it. You've been doing that for years. So then when the father says, come with me, I'm going to teach you how to spearfish, the kid knows exactly why. So that question was never asked. So yeah, the child already knows what to do with the fish once they've been caught and why. All he has to do now is learn how to catch the fish. This used to be something natural, but this used to be natural and this used to be everywhere in life, but we have so thoroughly and severely disconnected or severed our work from its like tangible relationship with survival. Right now, you go and you sit in a cubicle in an office and do something on a computer so that the margins of a company get slightly better, and then every 2 weeks you get paid money that you then use to go buy food. And I'm not saying that living as hunter gatherers was objectively better. I think it was materially a much more difficult life, but it was spiritually much more fulfilling. And this life that we live now in the modern era is materially much easier, but spiritually much less forgiving, and it's more spiritually eroding. Okay, so just by learning to spearfish, the child is ready to regularly consider the needs of others, not merely his own. Because the kid catches a fish, let's just say, so the father's spearfishing, and this kid right here, he learns how to spearfish, and he caught this fish. Good on you. Now what? You can either eat that fish yourself, or he can be like, well, I'm jumping ahead here, in being like father, because every young boy wants to be like their father. That's just natural. You see young boys mimicking and copying everything that their dad does, right? They want to do this. Well, in being like father, the child learns to spearfish, but can become like father again by giving the fish to his family. So, this is compounded reinforcement of the child's education, rooted first in their competence, which they're learning how to spearfish, and then their reinforcement, the education is reinforced again when they learn maturity or why we spearfish. Again, so like this is to show that when our work and our labor and thus our education is tied more closely or directly to our survival, the meaning is inherent. It's imbued with this sense of purpose. And the child is like chomping at the bit to do this, right? I've taught lessons before at like summer camps and stuff where it's me and another counselor in a room with like maybe 15 or 16 campers, and they're all aged like 10 to 12, and it's all boys. And I, in like an hour and a half, taught everybody how to play the guitar immediately. Like, and I say immediately, hour and a half. We took a break in the middle. Taught them 4 chords, and they could play. You said if you say any fret, any string, and any finger of the left hand to play, they could follow it just like that. And I did that to construct 4 chords. It was G, C, D, and E minor. And they could switch between any of them pretty darn quickly. And it's because there were those immediate, tangible consequences to their education. So like, I'm sitting there with a guitar. I play something on the guitar. That catches everyone's attention. Then I put a guitar in their hands. They know that they're gonna learn how to play the guitar. So when I start with something more abstract, like, okay, look at your left hand. This is finger 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now take your thumb and I want you to touch it at finger 1, now 3, now 2, now 1, now 4, now 2, now 3, now 1. You know what I mean? And I was like testing that so they can identify these fingers. And then the same thing with identifying the strings on the guitar and then the frets on the neck of the guitar. Because I had already played the guitar for them and they knew what was in store, they already had that vision of, oh, this is, now all I need to do is learn how to do that, right? So the same thing here. And it's a dreaded shame that modern education is totally detached from this. I had a couple of teachers at the most who really explored and explained the impact of what we were learning and why we ought to know it. But even then, they had to explain it, right? It couldn't be demonstrated. Physics was probably the class closest to regularly showing demonstrations of what we were learning and why we needed to learn it. But again, like, we completely lack this nowadays. People's jobs don't directly connect to our survival. There's now, extra steps in between our work and our survival. And even if it's just that, like, oh, I play guitar for money or I teach lessons for money, even if that is all right, which I think it is, the education of how to do that is still completely disconnected. So anyways, that's a real quick video. That's just what's on my mind. Thank you to everybody who's been watching my stuff. I still don't know exactly what I want to do with this channel, but this is one of the things. I wrote this up a while ago, like last year, and I just find it so interesting. And thank you to everybody who's watching these or who's talking about my last AI video. So all that being said, thanks for watching. Leave a like if you liked the video, but more importantly, leave comments. I read all the comments, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel, but I love this analogy and this illustration here, not the literal picture. That child looks like he has a head trauma. But nonetheless, thanks for watching. Leave your comments of what you think, and I'll see you on the next one, whatever that one is.